So what do you think about abolishing the Department of Education? Should that happen? And have you heard what's going on in Prattville schools where parents weren't notified of something that happened in class? Well, we talk about this today and what's going on at Auburn with this list that's been passed around. Stay tuned for this episode of Alabama Unfiltered.
We're literally debating that it's bad that people get to say what they think.
Can you imagine? I'm reading Psalm 144 and it says, He trains my hands for war.
We are on the brink of total destruction of America as we know it.
Let your rebel flag fly.
Welcome into this week's edition of Alabama Unfiltered. I'm Scott Beeson. Amy Beth Shaver is with me. So is Allison Sinclair. And I hope you've had a great week. I'm glad you're with us. Ladies, how are y'all?
Great. How are you?
Did you do something different to your hair?
Is it standing up
No,
some
it
weird
looks
way?
fluffy. Did you
Does
have the
it really?
windows
It's
down?
got a lot of, I use new products.
Oh,
No,
really?
I don't even know what products are.
It
I
must
think
be all
my
that
mom
weight you're
like
losing.
sprayed hairspray on it one time when I was little. I thought I would die. So you just
Was it
you just go with the
Vinyl
Cowdex. It probably was the old stuff caused global warming. Why do you ask? Just trying to plant a seed of nervousness. And I'm like,
No,
it's
when you
worse
were
than-
doing the
worse than
opening, I was
usual.
thinking his
Thank
hair
you.
looks really fluffy and
Well,
full.
thank you. Very
It was supposed to be a
lively.
compliment, not
Well, thank you. I appreciate that
Yeah,
greatly.
you got very
So-
fluffy hair.
Very gray, fluffy hair.
Yeah, it's
So what are we doing today?
A lot of good things.
Good things or just things?
Well, they're good things because we're making our audience aware.
are
Okay.
they?
If they're not already aware, they're not good.
We're claiming they're all South Alabama things, mostly.
Yes.
Can we claim that?
Where
at
is
least?
the delineation?
We're
When does it become
saying,
South Alabama?
Prattville.
North of Prattville.
Prattville.
So we can say it's all South Alabama stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. All
No,
right.
let's do the High School Athletic Association thing. So it's somewhere Calera,
Oh, okay.
that kind of thing. So we'll do that. So South Alabama, the southern region of the state.
Yeah.
Two different
The
places are in the news.
southernest region of
Yes.
the state? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've got some interesting stories today that unfortunately are coming out of South Alabama,
Yes.
not Central.
So we got Prattville.
So we've got I
Let's
don't
do
think
the
it's
cities.
funny. I'm calling it the Prattville Pleaser story.
Prattville, please.
I guess we should say if you have kids that are listening, maybe turn it down or put your AirPods in right now because it's about to get.
It's about to go down.
So is the story, so I'm trying to figure, I don't think that's accurate.
Well,
And I don't know a lot about it, but I'm just listening to what y'all said earlier.
this is going to be a really difficult story to get through, but we're going to have to.
We're going to put on our parental faces.
No.
We're going to be
and
serious.
attitudes. But this story is a little unbelievable. And I don't know how Craig does it every week that he finds these stories or people are coming to him telling them what's going on in school.
Thank you so much for pulling it together. Right
You know
here.
what? I felt like it was right. You know,
And you're talking about Craig Monger at
I'm
over at
I'm
1819
talking about
News?
Craig Monger at 1819 News. He just has a knack for finding these stories or people are coming forward. It's actually happening to like all of our reporters because they're getting the scoop on these things. But this,
But
Which one of you-
But you got to ask first, how long did it take him to go, that's not real, and then figure out it is real? And is the story what happened, or is the story that a public school system or public school in our state says, parents don't need to know about that.
I think the
it's not a
story
big
is
deal.
both.
Okay.
I agree with that.
So can we start with what happened?
Yes.
And okay, so as we go through this, just like we're adults, and this is a difficult story. Imagine if you're one of the kids in this classroom. So apparently,
And 3, 2, 1, moms and dads, that was your second warning. I'm going to pull a Rush Limbaugh. And 3, 2, 1, that's your third one. Here we go.
Okay, so a Prattville High School 10th grader, I do believe, in an English class, decided to pleasure himself in the middle of English. And apparently these two...
What story were they reading?
I don't know. The
He
two
was on his
girls
Chromebook.
said...
Oh, he had the Chromebook out. Would the Chromebooks do that at school?
Apparently, I don't put anything past the school-issued Chromebooks.
Okay.
But he had apparently his Chromebook over his crotch area, and these two girls looked over and things were happening. And they said he had his Chromebook over his area, but we don't know what he was watching on his Chromebook. But he had, according to witnesses, the male student was observed by several classmates with his hands down his pants while watching unknown content. After reportedly being allowed to continue for 5 to 10 minutes,
while the teacher texted for help.
Please help. Please help.
Okay, I just would like to pause.
And then left the room.
What? You don't sit there and let it continue for 5 or 10 minutes. You start yelling and like.
No, that's there's so many questions I have. Even that I can't even believe that, but I can't. I'm thinking back to high school. I can't believe that people aren't going like, "What the heck are you doing, Johnny?"
Wouldn't the whole class be in an uproar?
I'm like, surely the whole class is in an uproar.
Well, okay, so the teacher texts for assistance, and then the assistant principal came and calmly removed the student from the classroom. After 5 to 10 minutes?
And the whole class is watching?
And just like sitting there while he has his Chromebook and he's going at it under his Chromebook? I'm like, okay, imagine if this, let's put us in a movie theater or a Starbucks. If this kid's 18 years old, he's getting arrested and he's charged with things that stay on his record forever. And people are fleeing the Starbucks. They're running and screaming. And what? All these kids just sat there and the teacher was like, I need help. What is, like, are they that afraid of litigation that you can't interrupt, like indecent exposure and some sexual...
And also think about the girls that are in that classroom. I don't care how modern we think we are.
Right.
The idea that girls were subjected to this.
Right.
That the teacher didn't even from that point of view stop it because that's abusive.
What? Yeah,
to
I
be
don't
able
understand.
to be subjected to that and you're not, I agree with you 100%. You stand up and scream at that child, literally at the top of your lungs.
Don't you go
whatever you have to do.
You go like,
yank him
stop
by the
it?
Yank it by the scruff and get him out of the classroom.
I thought you were
of the neck. Of the neck, the back of
you
the
were saying
neck. I'm going to
something
be
else.
very clear.
She said scruff.
But I don't understand why
The other would
they
work.
didn't stop it. That's fine too. We're all adults here.
Thank you, Mom.
But
Keeping it together.
second is why did it take the teacher so long? Were they stunned as well? Yes. But this is why you're the adult in the room. Like, what would you have done?
Oh, I would have been like, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah.
And you're making him leave. Now, we're probably going to find out more. They'll probably, once this, everybody kind of knows about it, and we'll get to the part about parents not being told. But I am almost betting that this child, kid, whatever, has some sort of what we used to say letters after his name. And there will be some sort of excuse from the school that says, this is not abnormal, or we've had, these kinds of things happen, or this kid has some sort of issues, or he's developmentally challenged. I promise you it's going to be something like that. Even though there's no excuse, I'm just telling you. And if that's not the case, it may be even 10 times worse.
So the story goes on to say school leadership reportedly did not remove any students from the classroom while the male student concluded the act. None of the parents have received any information. Like, they had to hear it from their students. And I'm like, this is a 10th grade English class. Some of these kids are 15 years old.
15-year-old
These
girls.
are, yes.
Like, our kid, they're all could have been in that classroom.
Yeah. And for your girls, like, I don't care how much you talk about it. I don't even care if you have that. That's something that you should not be exposed to, especially in school. And the fact that it even got that far.
Right.
If you go down and keep reading, there's a screenshot. I didn't pull up. Can you get that?
Parent.
The parent.
Yeah.
And I can't even read this. Her daughter comes home and says he reached his goal and ejaculated while sitting in his desk. That's what her
That's
daughter
what the daughter
had to come
comes and
home
tell mom.
and yes. The fact that our schools are so terrified of litigation and any intervention,
or are they so tolerant of anything and everything?
I think it's both.
Yes.
Oh, well, that's normal. It's a normal process of growing up. It's
Right.
that's what No. There's a reason why if that had occurred any other place,
Right.
he would have been arrested.
Right.
That's right.
So then these parents are finding out they get no information from the schools. And apparently there's conflicting reports that he might have a 10-day suspension. You just committed like indecent exposure,
Right.
a sexual act in public. I just am these are stories that you should never hear, but we are hearing more and more coming out of public
And we're
schools.
hearing them in Alabama. That's
we-
one of the big things. This is Alabama. This is not California. This is not Massachusetts. This is Alabama.
Yeah.
And you would think that our schools would be all hands on deck. This can't be tolerated.
Right.
But we get, well, he might get 10 days.
I mean, and here's the other thing. This is the second time something's happened at that high school. So that high school is, I can confidently suggest to you, in disarray.
Right.
There was a cultural Marxism, pronouns, sexuality, gender assignment given to them in October of 2022. And here again, I believe it was Craig that reported on the story.
Mm-hmm.
Parents weren't notified then either. It was only because somebody made it public. So these are 2 times in about 4 months where the superintendent of Autauga County Schools, the principal of this high school, has shown complete disregard for parental authority,
Right.
for loving those kids enough to put a stop to it, even though they come out and go, well, that assignment had nothing to do with our values. Okay, but it still happened.
Right. It's your
And
assignment.
there's still a teacher who is out there on social media saying that assignment was great. And then you have this happening. Parents weren't notified there either. They don't care about your kids. Like, hello. They don't care about your kids because if they did, this would have never happened. That teacher was terrified, but they still didn't care enough about the rest of the kids in the classroom that chances are they're thinking, oh my gosh, what do I do now?
That's what I think the teacher probably faced. Was,
I mean, I think
what do
they
I do?
panicked.
They clearly know that, like you say, things are in disarray.
Right.
So the teacher doesn't know, okay, wait a minute, this would never be tolerated when I was in school, but what do I do? There's this, so everyone is paralyzed from doing what is right. And the responsibility is on the principal and the superintendent and the board, and they need to answer in some way.
They do need to answer. And so this is the question for our legislators is if you guys, you gals do not get your crap together and come up with a school choice bill that is amenable to everyone, we're going to keep reminding you of this because here is your opportunity to do what is right. And parents are rightfully outraged. We're outraged, and we're just reporting on the story that Craig discovered, 2 of them. Here is your sign.
And I think we need to point this out to the legislators who seem to be incapable of considering real school choice.
Like actual real school choice.
So, yes, real school choice. Say, you got a 15-year-old little girl, young lady, whatever, in that classroom. The school, after 10 days, says, no, he's coming back. And mom or dad have no choice. They don't have the financial means to send their child to another school.
That's right.
They're zoned for Prattville High School. So the state of Alabama, including the Alabama legislators, say, we do not care. You will go to that school. And if you don't, we'll come to your house and arrest your parents. That's what we are. That without school choice, they are saying that those young ladies have to go back to that class when that kid comes back. Because they have there's nothing they can do, and it makes me so angry.
Well, kids are going to make mistakes, and we all have
Correct.
kids, and they have all
make mistakes.
made
That's
really,
right.
yeah. I could go through a lot just in my house, but what this shows is not that there's a child that made a bad mistake. That might have been his first incident. Maybe he was just really into whatever he was watching and got carried away, and he's repentant.
And that's a heck of an incident. That's not really like I got in a fight in the lunchroom because so-and-so said something to me.
And one of the
I didn't use
parents-
profanities. I didn't run in the hallway.
Right.
Well, they're talking about, where does this go from here? Because it's true. If you look at the pathology of it, when you're acting out in public in front of other people, it just escalates into other things. But the problem is it's the way the leadership, like you were talking about, and the superintendent and the principal have handled it. There's a vacuum there. And there's so many other things going on, I would guess, in that school district that we don't even know about, where these parents are trapped.
Right.
And what do you do? I mean, so we've got to have the school choice discussion, and I hope they take it seriously this year.
They should.
And I think that is such a great point that we all have kids. We all made mistakes. Our kids make mistakes. That was a horrible mistake. It really was.
And we're not talking about sending some kid to
But
prison.
we're not
for
asking for him to go to prison because there's still a mom and a dad behind that kid, and they're
Right.
probably equally as humiliated and feel
Right.
terrible.
Right.
But I think we've got to separate that out from the choice to do that in a classroom. We're not talking about the kid. We are talking about the choice and what that child did that damaged lots of little kids in that class. And I'm sorry, when you're 15, you're still a kid.
Right.
But I'm thinking of my daughter, and I'm thinking that she would have probably turned and thrown up. Like, that's vile. Okay. So I understand that there is grace and mercy and forgiveness and all of that. I understand that the teacher panicked. I'm sure, I don't know what I would have done. Well, I would have screamed at them to stop. We would have.
After you got unfrozen.
But I do think that the bigger deal is, this has
Right.
actually happened. The bigger
Right.
deal really is the school choice element of this. And then it's also parents demanding answers from the superintendent and from the principal and from other leaders in that community. What exactly is going on in our school? We have every right to know. And these are our children, and you've shown a clear disregard for our children and for us, and we want to know more about it.
Right.
That's what
Well,
also has
all
to
of us
happen
know
here.
we've been around the education issue and in different schools, et cetera, for long enough to know there's a lot more happening at our schools
Yes,
than parents have any idea about.
yes.
And it's
I
keep it
agree.
down home, cuz don't say a word, and it's really wrong. And a lot of it is the federal government's fault, but a lot of it's the state government's fault too, because we just say yes to everything. The reason I brought that up earlier about letters, some of the things that go on in our schools that are protected by special education, people will be shocked to know what happens. And nobody's mad at a child who has special needs. We're not. But the schools do a great job, actually, of keeping that all quiet, because they're paralyzed by special education requirements. I mean, like I said, no one is mad at a child, and I understand their parents and the advocacy and the whole 9 yards, but all the way down to the basic of a child who is so bad off physically that they can't function, but they make a lot of noises. They can disrupt a class the whole time, but because of the way the laws are, they have to be in there. They're mainstreamed. Well, who else in that class learns anything for the whole period or the whole year? And it tugs on our heartstrings, but there's a lot of stuff that happens in school that doesn't have anything to do with education, hurts education. And it's just all held down. Keep it quiet. Don't let anybody know about it. Everything's good. We've got a really good school, supposedly. And this is just kind of one of those things that jumps out and says, wait a minute, what else is going on that we never heard about?
That's such a good point. And I do, we've got to go to a break to hear from Centurion Labs. But one of the things we're going to talk about when we come back is what's going on in Auburn with the Black Student Union and the article in the list of racial slurs for white people that came out of their group chat. But the other
There's
thing
a couple that I think absolutely apply to you.
well, you're a creaker.
I was going with that for you because you're old and white.
No,
An
it said old
cracker.
white man.
Oh, is it sexist?
Yes, it's
Yeah,
sexist
I think
too.
it means everybody, mankind.
Well, we'll cover all that, but we also are going to cover Barry Moore is calling for the abolishment of the National Department of Education. So, and one of the things that a lot of the people that are hesitant to destroy that entity is the federal funding for special education.
Right.
It's something we want to talk about, but we're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll see you on the other side.
What's up, guys? Brian Dawson, CEO of 1819 News here. I want to take a minute to tell you about my good friends over at Centurion Labs. Cold weather is here, and you know what that means. Colds, the flu, and coronaviruses are running rampant. Your immune system needs protection, and that's why I love what my friends over at Centurion Labs are doing. They're always looking for safe, effective, affordable ways to keep you healthy and at your best. Got a cough, sore throat, or a runny nose? You need to check out their Ninja Cough product. You heard me, Ninja Cough. It contains the strongest non-narcotic cough suppressant on the market with no sugar, alcohol, or dyes. So it's safe for everyone, even your kids. Looking to strengthen your immune health, prevent sickness, or fight off the flu, and of course, coronaviruses? Defender Immunity Boost is for you. It is an all-in-one immunity booster that combines vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, copper, and quercetin in just one pill to save you money and help defend your health. Having trouble sleeping? Defender PM is a nighttime immunity booster that will help you get rest and boost your immune health. Now is the time to defend your health, save money, and support a company that shares your Christian values and loves this country. Centurion has dedicated the last 15 years to research and develop safe, effective, and affordable products made in the USA that you can trust. For a limited time, listeners of this podcast can get 20% off their first bottle order when you visit centurionlabs.com/1819news and use the promo code 1819. That's centurionlabs.com/1819news with the promo code 1819. Check them out, guys.
Welcome back to our second segment here on Alabama Unfiltered. Thank you so much to Centurion Labs. I actually ordered their Just Energy.
Yes.
And it's really good. I'm trying to cut back on my caffeine consumption.
You need to.
Why? Why do you say that?
Very structured. You sure
I'm
they didn't
organized?
I was going with ornery, not organized.
Okay, well, Just Energy from Centurion Labs has half the caffeine of my normal cup of stuff.
It only has half the caffeine.
You don't have to worry about it. It's delicious. Can you pull it together? That's how Scott views me. It's so sad because I'm really a lot of fun.
Very fun.
You are fun. You're super fun.
So we're going to talk about the Black Student Union group chat that came out, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the Department of Education, and then what do we got in our big Alabama Unleashed segment?
In the Unleashed segment, we're going to be talking about the Nordstream and what happened there.
Really? We're going to do Russia?
Yes.
Finally?
Finally.
After a year?
We're going to talk about Russia. Or is it?
Of me being outvoted 2-1 every week.
That's good.
So Russia's finally in the news.
Scott's
Finally.
rubbing off on us.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting, and I think that this Substack by Seymour Hersh that we're reading is legit. I think this is actually what happened. So if you aren't part of 1819 News membership, if you haven't joined the fight, as we say, you can go and do that. And every week we post exclusive content for our members after you make a donation. And you get super cool cups like that.
Cups like this, like I carry all the time.
Sweatshirts, T-shirts, all the things.
Someday hats.
But Brian's being a hat snob and is like, ooh, it's not good enough.
I know what hat company he needs to use. I need to check in with him about that. Anyway, okay.
So Auburn. You're
this is painful.
Adopted.
Yeah.
You went to Tennessee, but your family's Auburn and you got all Auburned up.
I got an Auburn tag and everything. But y'all, this is so sad. So I don't even know who wrote that article. It's an 1819 News article. Will Blakely wrote it. Sweet Will. Mm-hmm. Have y'all ever hung out with Will?
I haven't hung out with him, but Will seems like a great person.
He's just so nice.
And even the old mainline newspapers referenced his article.
Yeah.
Okay, Will goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Well, apparently they were tipped off. I guess Hurd, his last name's Hurd, originally submitted this to Turning Point USA. A whistleblower that's on the chat had sent it to Jaden Hurd. And he submitted Turning Point USA, and then 1819 did an article about it. But it was in the Black Student Union Group Me chat for Auburn University. And basically, the title of the document was Creeker Names, which you're a Creeker, an old white man, okay?
A cracker who's old.
And it was a single column list of racial slurs for white people.
And it's like 250.
There's a lot.
I did not know there were this many.
Amy Beth, read us some.
I was going for, what's the two you know? The two we know. I never heard cracker, honky, and then I was stuck. I've heard mayonnaise thing before.
I mean, so mermaids. Mermaid maniacs. The Creeker names.
Okay.
I don't know. Vanilla vulture. What in the world? People of colonial complexion. bleach demons,
Those aren't fun at all.
cave dwellers, sour cream salamanders.
I like sour cream citizens. That was pretty good, I thought.
Come on.
Untamed beast, Crest 3D whitening strips,
Colonizer,
decomposing form of humanity, skin stealers,
failed
sugar
abortions.
sardines, failed abortions. That's not even funny.
It's not funny.
Some
There
of
are
these
some
are funny.
ones.
Some of
though.
these are
good ones,
hilarious.
like
Yeah.
Plantation Barbie. That's pretty funny.
Elbow crust.
I don't even know what
I
elbow
get
crust
that
is.
because if you an old
Oh,
person,
it's on the outside?
Yeah, it's
I thought it was like dirt on the inside.
no elbow crust. You know how old people have real crusty
I
white
don't.
flakes?
You kind of do. But
well,
it's
okay. I'll be
I didn't know
elbow.
what elbow
Dandruff
crust
paper, copy and paste.
So
No. There's good ones. No
Neanderthals.
purpose flour.
Come on.
no
Lord.
purpose
Sorry.
No
flour.
purpose flour is good. There are some good ones in here. Salt shaker, chalk child.
Chalk child.
Some
Oh,
of them
that
I-
makes sense.
Some
Okay.
of them I don't even know what they are. I mean, this is
So the university came out and said these comments did not occur on the Black Student Union GroupMe, nor as a part of any recognized Auburn University organization channel. An investigation is underway from the Office of Affirmative Action and Equal Employment, which adjudicates reports of harassment and discrimination. The university takes these matters very seriously, and the alleged behavior does not represent the values of Auburn. Okay, so this is a great conversation because where are the lines? So
no. I want to ask about Auburn first because
Okay.
that was a whole bunch of nonsense.
that was
What is a official Auburn University
universities.
channel?
Well,
Yeah, what does that mean?
I think that means like
So if you and I are in the Auburn University Chess Club, do we have to ask for special permission to have the chess club group me? Because group me is just a little app. Most people use it for sports.
Yeah, absolutely. I have
And
several chats
it's
going.
just a group chat. So there's probably no such thing as a official Auburn group me. account.
There probably are, but
But not for these clubs.
This is a semantics thing.
Yes, that's what I'm
Exactly.
saying. They're just
Yeah.
playing with,
Yeah.
well, yeah, it was them, but it wasn't on the official group
Yeah.
me. We don't know. But how different is that? And I know this is a worn out, tired thing, but how different is that than if the chess club did have, what do they call this? The Neanderthal list?
Oh no,
If-
the Creeker.
Well, I
Creeker.
think the official name on top
Oh.
of the group of the Google Doc was like Neanderthal list or something
Okay.
like that. But if they had one of 250 racial slurs against any minority group, they wouldn't have come out and said, "No, that's not on the official channels." They would have been looking at their social media, wanting their phones. I mean, it'd be like
Right,
the FBI
right,
was there
right.
to figure this out. And Auburn just goes, "Oh, we don't know. Somebody's going to investigate it." Where's their wonderful Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion?
Well, we could look it up. I'm sure it's there. Maybe we need to reach out to them to get
See what they say.
see what they say because, and exactly like racism is racism, and derogatory comments and slurs is bad either way. So I don't.
But are they?
They
I'm
are
talking about in our culture.
In our culture,
we know
no.
right and wrong,
No.
and
no.
we say, "Oh, it's all even," but I don't think it really is.
Either way, this reflects so poorly on Auburn. And then if the university itself doesn't actually step in and take it seriously, then that's going to be, and I'll be able to call it like it is. I mean, Auburn's kind of a weird one because, like, if you go into their bookstore, they have all the woke books. Like, one side of it is all
the Ibrahim Kendi and all that
yeah,
stuff.
like all the stuff. And then the other side of it is like rainbows and sunshine and glitter. And
Well, it probably is rainbows, or is that on the first side?
this is like
Now we just got to say
now it's
sunshine
like
and
God's
glitter. You
covenant
can't have
rainbows.
Okay, real rainbows.
Not really, but I'm just saying it's like normal stuff. And then, but they do have this section of this progressive kind of woke agenda, but I think they keep it in check. But this to me is not in check. And there were several executive committee or executive members of the Black Student Union on this group chat. So to me, even if I don't know, like I want to give them, maybe it's funny because like I even think some of them are funny, but in today's society and where we live, you should know you can't do that. But the fact that they think they can do that and talk about people that way makes me go,
Well, let me
there's
ask
a
you
double
this.
standard
Is
here.
anybody shocked
Yes.
that that anybody says these things. I mean, it was a brainstorming session. They're making up whatever can we say is a racial slur. I mean, when you're getting down to green gremlins, I mean, I'm like, what the heck is a green?
We're not even green.
Gremlin.
You know what?
I do like Ku Klux Karen though.
That's
Okay, speaking
Oh my
of,
gosh.
so you're half black and half white. Your
Yes.
dad is.
my dad was black,
Right.
and my mom is white.
So how do you? Where do you fall on this?
And I think that the uncomfortable truth is, and we know this, racism goes both ways. And we live in a culture right now that wants to say only white people can be racist. But now we also know that black people can be racist because the heart of man is deceptively wicked. Who can know it?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the conversation that we need to have. And now that this has been exposed, maybe we can have a conversation. Maybe we can have an honest conversation about slavery and where it came from. Because I was trying to tell my kids the other day, it's existed since the beginning of time.
Right.
And I understand that there are still hurt feelings over it. And it was a horrific time in our country. It is a blight upon humanity. Of that, there is no question. But if you look at it and you go back to where it came from, my people were selling my people. I mean, blacks were selling blacks. And there was slavery in the South. Those are the things that they want to skip over in the discussion to leap forward and get to the all whites are racist and blacks aren't racist at all. That's the uncomfortable truth here. And we should know that we can't say these things, or if it's freedom of speech, we can. It depends on your view. There are hurtful things that we're saying to one another and about one another, and they're horrible. Some of them are funny, but it goes both ways. Why are we allowed to say certain things? Blacks can say certain things to other black people, whites to whites, but you can't cross. Why
Right.
not?
Right.
If they're all bad, mean, ugly. I mean, there are words I hate being called that I have been called.
Right.
And as a child, they leave. They're horrible.
Right. You don't forget them.
You don't ever forget it. You don't forget where you were. You don't forget who said it. You can still see the face of the people. It hurts. But it goes both ways. And we need to get to the bottom of this because it's sin. All of it is sin. And we're all sinners. And we're all need the grace of God to be saved. When we get to that discussion, to true repentance, then we have a chance for reconciliation. But we're not being honest. And so we can't go there yet.
Yeah, and I just want the same rules to apply.
That's right.
Either we can or we can't.
That's right.
And it should apply across the board. But fairness.
And we're always told that certain words, you don't say them because they're degrading, that there's no positive way to use the word. It is simply degrading. It's a negative word that degrades someone based on their race. And a number of these that make me laugh, these weren't dreamed up to be positive in any fashion. They're purely
Correct.
dreamed up to be degrading. Now, they may not be the classical ones that everybody thinks are degrading, but there would be no reason for me to call Allison a mayo packet.
Yeah, no,
There's a mayo.
There might be.
There's a mayo monkey in here. So I like what Allison said is, all right, let's figure out what the rules really are.
Yeah.
Are all the degrading terms out? Okay. And then it really should be even across the board.
Yeah.
If we're gonna do these things. But they are funny. I'm sorry. I'm not sensitive about this stuff other than creaker. Once I found out it meant old because like your bones are creaking and you're old, that one gets me. And I'm
You're
struggling.
getting there.
I'm struggling since you called me a creaker.
Well, I'm sorry, but it's just what you are. According
You just can't
to,
help it.
I mean, apparently.
it's just what it is. But, unfortunately, this is the fallout of cancel culture. And I don't care who you are, it eventually will devour you as well.
That's right.
And now it's getting flipped and the rules are so mushy and fluid that we're all just going to be eaten alive by this cancel culture.
Right.
Unless,
because there is no grace, mercy, or forgiveness
Right.
Or
in it.
any of it.
yeah.
None of it, because it's godless.
Let me ask this question, which I know is going to be a little touchy. Do people of color, when they're together, just people of color, do they make fun of white people? Because I know the true answer. I know the answer. I've been told the answer.
I think so.
Yeah.
Watch a video about Larry Bird, because he was like the most amazing trash talker in the NBA in the old days. And watch the sports shows where the guys are talking about how much admiration they have for Larry Bird. But you'll also hear them say, and you know what? I can't believe this white guy's this white guy's awesome. They're literally saying, I can't believe a white guy's good at basketball.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everybody has their biases, their opinions, and everybody does, from every race, color, creed, whatever. But we just pretend, like we do so much nowadays, that we just pretend, well, that doesn't happen. When it does, because we totally ignore reality. That people are people, and we're all fallen, we're all sinful. We all have things that we think for whatever reason. And we just kind of need to come to grips with it and say, it's that way across the board because we're all human beings. Wouldn't it? Wouldn't that work better?
Yeah.
Yeah, my brain is going because I'm thinking about like, okay, I saw a thing after the Super Bowl that was saying, in the past however many years, only 11 of the quarterbacks in the Super Bowl have been black.
Right.
And it went through like each of the year and had, and then I started thinking, I'm like, I don't know why mostly quarterbacks are white. I don't really know anything about
Did
that.
you know that the top four highest paid, I think it's top four highest paid NFL players, one of them, the highest paid NFL player of all time, are all black quarterbacks. But we have this mindset of, well, they can't be the NFL. It must be it's kind of racist in some way. They're not.
I started thinking
They're
about
absolutely the
running
opposite.
backs. And I'm
Right.
like, how many running backs are white?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. They're mostly black. I don't know why, but it's just the way it is. So some of it is.
But you do know why.
I mean, I really don't.
Well, I mean, I
Just
think
white people aren't as fast?
That's what I think.
Yeah.
What's wrong
Okay.
with that?
There's
If
nothing wrong
if
with
they're
that.
not, there's nothing wrong with
There's
that.
nothing
Right.
wrong with that.
Well, here's the deal. I mean, to boil it
Percentage-wise.
down to its essence, it's this. It's when we stop labeling one another as black or white.
Mm-hmm.
That was the benefit of not knowing what race I was growing up. I was told Italian and then clearly not. But, whatever, is being raised as a human.
Right.
Exactly.
And
Right.
so instead of, hey, number 12 is really fast,
Right.
the more we label, the more we divide.
Right.
And that's what the enemy came to do, is to divide, devour, and destroy. And it would be so helpful if we would remember that, hey, number 1 is super fast. And hey, he has got his skin color is beautiful.
Right.
But so is number 15.
And he's a great guy.
And he's a great guy.
Right.
Like let's use numbers and let's give, attaboys where they're deserved. But I think the biggest thing we could do is to stop labeling people by their color. And that's hard to do because it just is, because it's like, oh yeah, there's this guy or there's that girl or whatever. But the Bible says that we are one race.
Right.
We are different tribes. Great. So some are darker, some are lighter. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But we have built a whole narrative around these people, these people over here and those people over there. Like, no, we're one.
Right.
And removing that label is going to be impossible. But I used to hear Rush Limbaugh talk about that a lot, which is an odd, thing to say, but he did. But quit dividing.
Right.
Just quit it.
But now politics is starting to divide people from their own races.
Yes, they are. And it doesn't make any sense, does it? Because
we were watching the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And the NFL, of course, and was it Fox was doing the broadcast, I think, and they were making a big deal that Jalen and Mahomes it was the first Super Bowl that both quarterbacks were black. And one of the kids at our house said, "Well, that's not right because I was told that Patrick Mahomes is not black." And I'm like, "How can he not be black? One of his parents is black. He's black." And they were like, "No."
But why is he not white?
But
Right,
that's
also
a
a
whole
very
other
good
question.
question.
How the 50-50.
Because are you black or white?
I'm
She's-
just a person.
So
She's whacked.
anyway,
I am
it's
white.
weird.
Whack,
But you're
white,
right.
black.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the question. I mean,
what are the
look, Barack
definitions?
Obama, he's got a white mom and a black dad.
Right.
But why did the boys say he wasn't?
Because
or why
Patrick
did they hear?
Mahomes talks white. And that people were saying that he wasn't really black because he spoke correct grammar and he sounded like a white person, therefore he's not black. So we're starting to use politics and culture, and you're not urban enough, you're
Yeah.
not black enough. I mean, Clarence Thomas is
Not black enough,
not counted to be black, even though he's very black. And
Yeah.
so politics is starting to separate people from their own race.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what is a person, where do they go? Where's their home? And they would have a home if we would all just say that we're even at the foot of the cross and God made us all.
Right.
And he gave souls different cars, different colored cars
That's
to
right.
drive in for
That's
our whole
right.
lives. That's what happened.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by that because the other kids were like, yeah, that's what I was told too.
Mm-hmm.
I
Like,
just
how does that
don't know
happen?
where differences started to be bad. Like, that's why I love, if the world was made of a bunch of me or Scots, that'd be awful. It's Amy Beth would be great.
We're
but,
going to agree on that one.
but I'm like,
Listen.
that's why I love to travel. I
Right.
love to experience
Yeah.
different cultures. I love to learn new things. I don't want us to all be the same.
Right.
And I don't I don't know. I don't know when it became bad to be different and to have I don't know. This whole thing is just bizarre.
And don't
what's
you
happened.
think it's true that when man is the measure of things, when women are the measure of things, then no one will ever be enough. And that's why
Yeah.
we desperately need the gospel. As
Right.
simple as that sound, it is the most profound
It is.
way to change hearts. And it's not so we impact culture, it's because we get to spend eternity with God.
Right.
But the more that you look at woke culture and the more that you talk about even what we may get to today with Barry Moore advocating for the abolishment of the Department of Education, is schools now are teaching kids to hate their skin color. They're teaching kids to hate
Other
less-
people's skin
other
color.
people's
Right.
skin color. And so that falls apart in me. So is my black part supposed to hate my white part?
Right.
It doesn't even make any sense.
I have
Right.
two
And
brown
yet
kids.
You've got brown
How
kids.
do I
So we've built an entire system on division and hatred.
Mhm. We have.
Makes no sense
Because
at
it's
all.
us versus them and in everybody's book. Somehow everybody else is the enemy.
Right.
And
A victim culture,
I
and it's
really
not.
don't
It'll never work.
understand it.
Well, and this does segue into Barry Moore calling for just destroying the Department of Education on a federal level. The federal government has that agenda, and we see it in Alabama. It's why a lot of our school systems' hands are tied, because they do take that federal money and they do have to follow, all the strings attached. And if we could remove that,
Mhm.
either get rid of the Department of Education, or there's a Tennessee, the Speaker of the House in Tennessee is calling for just totally Tennessee not taking any federal dollars for education. You can control what your kids and your culture and your state. And really, that's what the Constitution calls for. There's nothing in the Constitution that says the federal government is supposed to have control
That's
over
right.
education.
Right.
It was done in communities through the church, or just local families that came together. And I think the only way we maybe recover from this is if we do. I mean, props to Barry Moore. He's on there with Ralph Norman, who's from South Carolina, Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's like maybe 6 of them that are filing this bill. It won't go anywhere because I don't think the Senate will support it. But I mean, the discussion has to start somewhere. We've got to get education back to the local level so these divisive concepts can be stopped. Because if we keep the strings attached, we will never break free.
That's right.
I like what they're talking about doing in Tennessee. Now, the Alabama education establishment would have a stroke.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was when I was in the Senate, I sent a letter over and asked for a breakdown of how much does it cost us to comply with the federal dollars. So if you give us $1, how much is it actually costing us to do the things that dollar makes us do?
Wow.
Because my gut feeling was we were actually spending so
More.
much that we could have given it up and done things our own way and come out ahead. Guess what? I never got an answer, which is one of those Craig's Law kind of things from my radio show. If they don't tell you what you're asking, you can guess what the answer is.
Let's ask it again.
We probably should.
I think that's Scott,
That's a brilliant.
I take it back.
Question.
We could have a bunch of Scots.
We
Yeah.
should have a bunch of
Just
Scots,
not
and not just
Allison.
Scotsmen.
Oh,
that
y'all
was
being way
really
too nice now.
impressive.
It's very.
But it's difficult to get people to, especially legislators, to look and ask those questions. And Barry's doing a great job. You are right, though, and Barry knows it, too, that it's not going anywhere because the Senate is run by Democrats. But it becomes more commonplace and people are more at ease. Because a few years ago, when you said abolish the Department of Education, you were just crazy.
You were an insurrectionist.
And now it's like, maybe we ought to talk about that. So,
Well, and here's why we should talk about it for people who are listening and thinking, oh, I don't know.
Right.
That feels good. The Department of Education policy requires that students be treated according to their gender identity rather than biological sex.
Mm-hmm.
In 2021, the Biden administration's Department of Education attempted to require critical race theory be taught in schools, and they will spend taxpayer dollars to offer non-binary and transgender sensitivity training to public schools across the country. So it is not a crazy idea. And it comes back to what happened in Prattville is what's happening across the country.
Mm-hmm.
And what would have sounded like crazy pants, go get your tinfoil hat, everybody ignore Aunt Edna in the corner because she is saying crazy things, is now normal.
Right.
And these are the things that we're going to have to fight back
Well, don't forget, it's
against.
some of the federal policy that keeps us from being able to know what kind of discipline problems we're having in the schools.
Oh, yeah, no, we can't
And
know
how
that.
how
we
many
don't have any
crimes-
discipline
Oh,
problems.
that's true. That's true. No crimes, no
Yeah, what we
discipline
talked about
problems,
today,
nothing.
that didn't actually happen.
It's weird too because I'm trying to think back like when I was born in 1978. Okay, so I wasn't in school, but the
So young.
Department of Education wasn't even formed until 1980 under Jimmy Carter, and it was a total political move. There was no real function for it. Is he wanted the teacher union vote, and so he formed the Department of Education. 1980.
Was it 80?
Some of y'all were in school before the Department of Education, so we have in our head that it's just always been this way.
Right.
We can't abolish it.
Right.
It hasn't.
What I don't understand is why people think we can't. Because when they say we can't, well, what do? It's just this blank stare because
I mean, if you
regular
go-
people
yeah.
don't realize what the federal Department of Education does, but they still don't want us to get rid of it.
Yep.
Oh, our education will fall apart without them. What makes you think that?
It's already falling apart.
Right.
It's only gotten worse
Correct.
since it came to
Right. And
fruition.
Republicans and Democrats both are responsible.
Oh, absolutely.
Because what was it? George Bush decided to be bipartisan and work with Ted Kennedy to do No Child Left Behind.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
What
That's-
a mess,
A
Mr.
winner.
Compassionate Conservative who
Yeah.
did that, and we went and blew up the Middle East
Yeah.
to start a democracy
Bushies.
where Iraq
Bushies.
used to be.
Come on.
So, what a mess. So Barry Moore has done good.
Yep.
I'd
Very
love to
glad
get him
for
on
Barry
here.
Moore.
We need to reach out to him.
Barry
I
Moore,
think
would
he
you
would.
please
I
come on
think-
our show?
I think
We'd
he
really
will.
like to
Pretty
talk
cool.
to you.
He is cool. He
Yeah.
was in the legislature when I was
you
there.
should come on.
I need to call him
Scott,
and
can you
Tommy
do
both.
that?
Like we have a whole list.
Okay.
That only you know these
No,
people.
it's that.
You
They'll
know
say
these
yes
guys
to
and
anybody,
these
but I need
ladies.
to call. I haven't
Okay.
called Tommy yet, but I will.
Okay. Thank
Call
you
me.
Deal.
for that.
Called a
So,
coach.
call
Called
co- call
Tubbs.
coach.
His best friend called
Coach.
Tubbs.
So you got to make up for all your Auburn buddies down there.
Seriously. All right,
So
that's all
we
I
wrap it up.
got.
So we're going to be here, and everybody needs to stick with us for Alabama Unfiltered Unleashed, which is the bonus segment that you'll get if you go to 1819news.sign and sign up. Help us join the fight
That's right.
and sign up with that. And you get to see this, and you get some cool stuff. Absolutely. Any last words from you ladies?
Oh, you know
Roll
what?
Tide.
We'd love it. Roll Tide. We'd like for you to like and share this and spread the word.
Mhm.
I feel like our podcast today
Yeah.
is very effective. I hope that it is, and I hope people would consider sharing it with their friends and family
Absolutely.
because the word is spreading, and we are very grateful for that.
Yeah, thank you for telling people about this program. Alabama's #1 in basketball. We're a basketball school now.
Y'all almost weren't. War
Not-
Eagle.
Not ever. We'll see how long this lasts.
Not long. I would rather be #2. I know it sounded like a Tar Heel fan. Thank y'all for watching. This has been Alabama Unfiltered. We'll catch all of the people who are part of the club in the Unleashed section. See y'all.